All right, everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. So today we're going to be talking about my top 4 finesse baits for January. Now, I do want to say before we jump fully into the video, I've got a horrible sinus infection, so there's going to be a lot of sniffling. My voice is going to be crackly, raspy, all that good stuff. I may do a lot of try to catch my breath. I got one nostril open, so it's going to be a video, we'll just put it that way. But either way, stay tuned. This is something you don't want to miss. All right, guys, so talking about the first bait, this is going to be that finesse bait that I really prefer to use, especially when the fish are just out suspended, okay? And maybe it's not super cold, maybe it's, you know, that water temperature's in that 50 to 54 degree range, somewhere in there. This is really going to be just really that good all-around bait you can kind of use wherever. Like here in Alabama, we've just had a lot of up and down weather. So we're getting cold days, we're getting warm days, we're getting days like today where it's pretty comfortable. You can wear a hoodie and some blue jeans or something like that. It's not too bad, but you know, it's kind of all over the place. So that's kind of how I've adjusted my finesse baits, if that makes sense. But either way, that's going to be that little swim bait, okay? So like a 3.75 inch swim bait, something like that. Throwing it on that medium action rod, 8-pound fluorocarbon or 10-pound fluorocarbon, or 8-pound fluorocarbon, 10-pound braided line, I'm sorry. But either way, you know, high gear ratio reel, 6.2 to 1, and you know, we're going to slow those presentations down and target that depth. I will say with the swim bait though, 99% of the time, this time of year, when those water temperatures reach below 60 degrees, I'm going to be throwing the Rage Swimmer. Most of the time the ribs are pointed forward, more resistance, you can slow it down a little more, but still, you got to understand these fish are chasing bait fish. A lot of the fish are going to be chasing bait fish. With that being said, those fish are going to be looking straight up, looking to target those bait fish. So you need to adjust your bait presentation to that and try to make it as natural as possible. Pay attention to your electronics. Make sure if you see bass sitting at 25 foot per se, I'm just throwing out a number, and the shad are hanging out in 18 foot, you want to try to keep that bait at around 18 foot to keep that presentation as natural as possible. But you know, your slow crawl reel, super easy to use, slow reel. You're going to get a lot of bites doing that this time of year. Now, sticking to the swim baits, this is an underspin, okay? And as you can see, this one has been wore out. I mean, they've about ate all the paint off of it. But, you know, that underspin is going to be a great choice for really slow rolling. You can get a lot of bait balls to follow your underspin, and those fish fire up a school, you know, where a lot of fish are coming up at one time to eat. You know, that specific bait, because there's so many bait fish in the area. But now at the same time, I'm still throwing that Rage Swimmer, okay? And you adjust your colors accordingly to what you're fishing, what type of, you know, bait fish are in your lake or river system, whatever you prefer to fish. But that underspin, I'm going to be using it the same way as that swim bait head. I'm going to be slow rolling it. Now the swim bait head, I'm typically going to go with the 3/8. The underspin, I'm typically going to try to get away with a 1/4 ounce, but most of the time you're going to have to go with that 3/8 ounce, because you're going to have a lot of winter winds, and those fish are typically going to be deeper, especially if you're fishing those highland reservoirs. So the underspin is a great choice for, you know, fish that are really chasing bait balls. And on these deeper lakes, a lot of times in that 40 to 40 foot depth, you're going to see a lot of these fish chasing bait fish, and they move pretty quickly, especially in spotted bass fisheries. They don't slow down a whole lot in spotted bass fisheries. So if you're fishing a spotted bass fishery, be aware of that. You may have to go to the 3/8 ounce all the way up to a 3/4 or a 1 ounce just to get down there quick enough before those fish has moved and they're gone. Now, the other one I want to talk about, this is kind of going to be a slower one, something I'm going to crawl on bottom. I say crawl. There's multiple different ways to work it, but one of the big ones is a Ned Rig, okay? So a Ned Rig is a very good bait to use this time of year, and most people use the TRDs, as Spur Mountain Outdoor likes to call them, turds. But either way, I like to do mine a little bit different. I like a little bit of action in mine, but I like going with the Ball Scrubs by Berkley. I've had a lot of good luck with these. They're a little bit cheaper than the Strike King and stuff, but either way, you know, putting a grub on that Ned Rig head style bait and working it around riprap and bluff rocks and stuff like that. When fish are positioning close to the bottom, it's going to be a great choice. But now I will say, I haven't really found a Ned Rig where I have good luck of, you know, targeting isolated cover or anything like that. Ned Rigs, they get hung up a lot, so, you know, adjusted accordingly. But the next video that'll be dropping Thursday, I've got some baits to kind of cover that situation, so make sure to check out that video. But the very last one that I want to talk about is a tail spinner. So I'm not sure if any of y'all are familiar with a tail spinner, but you know, it's just got that blade on the back. You can get them with a Willow or a Colorado. I'm not sure what brand this is. I've had it for years. It's just in my box. It's something that I use during the winter. But I'm kind of going to be using that like a jigging spoon, okay? And what I mean by jigging spoon, I'm going to be throwing that bait out there, and I'm going to be pulling up, reeling slack, pulling up, reeling slack. I'm not doing hard jerks or anything like that. I'm literally just pulling, slack, pulling, slack. It's that simple. You got to remember this time of year, fish are cold, the bait fish are cold, everything's cold, everything's going to be slowing down. A minnow, when it's moving, it's going to be moving like this. It's going to be a little tighter. That's the reason your rattle traps, your blade baits, stuff like that's going to be more productive. But that's a video for Thursday. Either way, guys, I really appreciate everything being linked down in the description, also in the shop. Make sure to check out my sponsors, Thunderhawk Lures, Salty Captain. Good people, good products, super affordable. There's discount codes in the description if you decide to buy from them. Make sure to use that. Not only do you save 20%, it helps me out a whole lot monetarily. Also, merchandise released in the shop. Make sure to check that out now if you want to get you some cool hats, cool shirts, all that good stuff. Either way, guys, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.